Hi everyone, it's Linda from Paige and Linda at embellishboldly.com. Today on my desk I have some music sheets and a couple of storybooks. I'm going to make a journal out of envelopes that I make out of these papers, because my granddaughters asked me for a flip-floppy kind of journal. They love anything with pockets, anything with flip-outs and flops. So I thought these storybooks would make beautiful envelopes that I can now make into the journal for my granddaughters. I'm going to go completely against my normal grunge look and stick with these very, very colorful pages. All right, let's get started. Okay, I've cut out all the pages from my books. I'm ready to get started. The raggedy edges, not to worry. I need to trim these down for a square shape. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to lay this out, and it is 9 by 10. I need to decide which side of the envelope I want out. I've decided that's the side I want out, so I turn it over. I'm going to be folding towards the center of this. This page is 9 by 10, so I'm going to need to trim off about an inch on the right margin. You could use scissors. You could use a razor and ruler, or you could use a paper trimmer, whatever you have on hand. I'm going to use the razor and ruler. You're going to need some glue, any glue that you'd like. I'm going to use art glitter glue. I'm going to also use a bone folder. You don't need a bone folder, but I like using my bone folder to make nice crisp edges. You could use a butter knife. You could use the end of your scissor. You could use your finger. I'm ready to make my envelope out of this paper. I'm first going to get rid of that raggedy edge, because in order to square this up, I'm going to fold that right top corner towards the bottom left edge. And I want to make sure that I have a nice clean, crisp line. So I'm just removing that raggedy edge. Now I'm going to grab a pencil just so I can make a mark at the bottom edge, so I know exactly where I need to fold it. So I'm bringing that corner, like I said, right down to the bottom edge of the paper, because if I could line those two bottom edges where my finger goes evenly, neatly, I'm going to end up with a square, which is what I want. I want a square to begin my envelope, the envelope that I want to make the journal for my granddaughters. So I'm just putting a little mark where I need to cut away. Everything to the left of that mark is going to need to go bye-bye. Okay, I'm lining up the ruler to where I need to cut away. You could use scissors. You could use the razor and ruler method like I used before, or you can tear the page, which is what I'm going to do right now. Just make sure you hold that ruler down tight and just tear the page, and you get a nice line. Okay, we're ready to keep moving on. Next, I need to find the center of the page, so I'm going to line my ruler up at 4.5 inches, since this square is 9 inches by 9 inches. I make a vertical and a horizontal line, creating a T or an X, because I am tipping it onto the diagonal, lining it up, making sure it's straight on the diagonal, and then I can begin folding my paper. I'm going to bring one corner into the center, lining it up on those marks that I've just made. Bring in the next side to the center, lining it up on the mark that I made. And I bring my bone folder in to just smooth it down. Now I can fold up. This is the bottom of the envelope. I'm going to fold it up. I am overlapping the bottom corners by less than 1/2 inch, but more than 1/4 inch. I want to fold down that point so that it doesn't impede my envelope. Now I'm folding down the top, and again I am overlapping less than 1/2 inch, but more than 1/4 inch. You can now unfold it. We need to cut notches in the envelope. Where the triangle, you'll see when you do the folds, where the folds intersect, you're removing those little triangles. The reason why you're removing these little notches is so that when you put this envelope back together and glue it, you remove all the bulk in the corners. It would just bulk it up, and you'll end up with a not an attractive looking envelope. So I showed you a little close up. It's just these little notches pulled out. If you have a notch maker, use that, but scissors are fine. Here we are. We just make sure it closes all nicely. And now I can glue the bottom flap to the sides. I am just going to run a bead of glue up along that edge, the left side and the right side, and then glue down the bottom flap to it. Once I get all that glue on where I need it, I'll fold up the bottom flap, tap it down, and voila, we have made an envelope. Look at how sweet that is. Ah, I love that. Beautiful. Now I'm ready to make another envelope. I'm going to go through the same exact process, the same steps. So I'm just going to speed it up, add a little music until this part is done. Yay, all my envelopes are done, ready to be assembled into that flippy floppy journal I'm making for my granddaughters. You know, they love anything that flips and flops and pulls out, just like me. I love it too. So I plan on doing a ton of tags that they could pull out, flips I'm going to be adding to this journal. But let's see how I assembled the journal itself using our handmade envelopes. Here's my prototype, the first one that I did. Okay, so first you have to decide which one you want for the covers and the back, the front and the back. And it's adorable. It really is. So there's my flap that will be the closure. That's envelope number 1. You flip it open, and that's number 2, the back. That will be number 2. Here's number 3 envelope, and then number 4 envelope, and the 5th envelope. And you end up with 1 pocket, 2 pocket, 3 pockets. Flip it back, 4 pockets, 5 pockets, plus all those little flips. And I plan on adding some pockets as well. And you close it. If you glue it into your journal, 3-sided, you will also have a pocket through the top where you can maybe add a tag. If you glue it on the those edges, you'll have a tuck spot, a full tuck spot. When planning on making these envelopes, make certain that the overall size, when it's completed, will fit into the journal if you are choosing to tuck this into a journal. Let's assemble the journal. First thing I need to do is decide which 2 envelopes I want for the back cover and the front cover, and I've made my selection. That one will be the back cover with the front closure, and the other one with the leaves is going to be the cover that flips over as the front cover. Yes, I like that. So I'm not going to glue them down yet. I'm going to assemble the envelopes to just make sure all the mechanics work. And I'm glad I did, because this envelope here with the lady, it's a little bit bigger than the rest of the envelopes. I guess when I folded, I didn't measure and make sure everything was the same exact size. No worries. I'm going to assemble the journal as I would, and when I glue the back cover to the front cover, I'm just going to pull it out just a little bit more than I normally would so that everything folds over. Easy fix. It's paper. It's easily done. So instead of going right up to the crease or just a little bit before, I'm going to have a little bit of a bigger gap. And I decided I'll line it up right with the top of his eyeballs. That gave me plenty of room for everything to fold back on itself. All right, so I glue that part down. Now, the other 3 envelopes are all being tucked into envelope number 1. So this is really simple. I'm just going to glue 2 envelope flaps together, and then I decide, oh yeah, wait a minute, there's a 3rd envelope. Let me glue the flap to the 3rd envelope. I was going to try tucking it in, and I realized, hey, hang on a second, this is much easier. Just glue all 3 flaps together. So envelopes 3, 4, and 5 you can glue together, and then tuck it into envelope number 1, which is your back cover with the front flap closure. Glued in place, everything closes nicely. And we've got journal number 2 all done. And there you go. Flap, pocket, 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 pocket. 5 pockets, and it's ready to go. Now I'm just going to do a quick run through to see how I want to embellish this. I think I might have put a pocket there, a flip up on that page, and a flip out on that page. I'm thinking. This could all change. Okay, so let's start. I've marked it where I want to do it. So I have arrows on a piece of paper, flip up, flip down, flip out. I think I do change my mind a couple of times, but I loved this leftover page because that spiral, the spider web, picks up the beads or the spider web that's evident in the girl's or the boy's face in that other envelope. So I was like, that is a nice tie-in. I really do like it. And I enjoyed that I was able to do a double flip out. So all I'm doing is trimming it down. I want to get rid of the other half of that below the tear. And that way I can glue one part in as my flip out. So I'm just going to use my razor and my ruler, cut away that bottom section. I don't need it. I won't throw that away. And now it's ready to be glued into my journal as a double flip. The girls are going to love that. Whichever one gets this one, they're going to love it. They really are going to love it. So that's going to get tucked in there. I also took out some lined paper because I'm thinking I want to make some journal space. So I think I'm going to put some lined paper on a couple of those flip outs and flip up a piece like that. Look, I'm just folding it in half. I will glue one part down onto that and it'll be flipped up. I could write on that side and I could write on the inside. I'm going to round all the corners on this piece of paper just because I like the way that it looks when it's all done. It's a nice finished edge. And I decided I will be gluing that just like that so that there's a little nod to the leaves on the other envelope. So it picks up a little bit of the patterning. I like that. I like everything to tie together. Okay, just glue that down. I'm using, again, art glitter glue. And now this is going to flip out once, and then it flips out twice. I'm going to round the corners on the inside too. I think I did, maybe I didn't. Okay, now that has to be glued down. That's going to be a journal spot. Yes, and yes, I like that. And I thought, should I put a journal spot on the front part? Because I have words there that are upside down, so I definitely need to cover that. And this is a nice, easy solution because I can write anything on it that I want. I could write a note to my granddaughter, or I could leave it blank and let her write the note. I'm going to round some corners, and I will glue that journal piece down after I round those corners. Finish rounding them off, and now I'm just going to glue it down, and this will hide the upside down words from the book page. Glued down, and now I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. When I flipped it out, I'm going to glue it down on the outside pocket, right on the outside flap right there. Then I decide, instead of another journal spot, I was going to flip it up. Nope. I decided I think I'd like a pocket right there, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just trimming down a piece of paper to put a pocket on that flap, and there it is, all done. And it's going to get glued into place. I love it. I figured I had enough. And I can tuck a tag or a journal card in there that will stick out the top a little bit, and it'll be just another piece of interactiveness for my granddaughters. I'm mitering the corner a little bit on both sides, just to give it a little bit less bulk. And instead of cutting it, I'm folding it over to give that a little bit more strength. These are going to a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I thought, in and out with a journal card or a tag, it could use a little extra strength on the edges. And of course, I'm going to round the corners before I glue it in. And there it is, all in place. On to the next page. I picked this piece of paper out because I really enjoyed the colors, and I thought it coordinated nicely. All right, so I need to mark how wide I want it, and I am going to do a flip up with this one, I believe. And I settled on that section right there. I knew that's what I wanted. So I cut it to size, width-wise, and I am going to obviously have to trim it down. I don't want it that long. I want to make sure the girl is completely visible. So I folded it to make sure I could see her incomplete. And I'm going to glue it down on that flap and decide I want to cut it short enough so I can see the flower bud at the bottom. So all I need to do is trim away the excess. And here I am taking out my ruler and my knife just to trim away a few inches of that paper, glue that flap in at the top because I want this to flip up when the girls look at it. Of course, I'm going to round the edges before I glue it down. That's not necessary. It's my preference. And I'm going to round those edges as well just to finish it off. I'd like it to finish off. And that will flip up. Incidentally, it's a double-sided paper which has lines on it, and it's, perfect for me to write on, or for the girls to write on. This book is going to be stuffed with stickers and journal cards and tags and all kinds of doodads, maybe remembrances. We just came back from Kennedy Space Center last weekend. I think I'm going to stick in a couple of the brochures. I made sure I took some brochures home with me. Definitely going to be stuffed into one of the pockets of the envelopes as a remembrance. So that's going to flip up. Fantastic. They're going to love this. And finally, onto the last envelope. I was going to do a flip down and then changed my mind. I'm going to do 2 pockets like I did on the last journal. And I'm using that scratch-off paper to cut 2 pockets. Decide I'll draw a heart. I did draw a heart on the other one. And on the second panel, I'm going to draw some flowers just to make them colorful. And I'll glue those down for 2 side pockets. I will be stuffing these side pockets with stickers. The girls would love that. I'll glue these down on 3 sides so that I have beautiful side-loading pockets. Lovely. I'll do a quick run through this journal now. Open the flap, and I've got my 2 side loading pockets and a big pocket on that envelope. Lovely. Flip it over. I've got an envelope pocket and a flip up, which is fantastic. Flip it over, and I've got another side pocket and a double flip where I've got journal writing and another pocket. And then when you flip it over, I've got 2 more pockets. But I'm thinking that double flip page, it looks kind of boring. I'm going to put something there. So I cut out a pocket out of the same coordinating paper from the other one. And there it is. I'm happy with that. I'll just have to glue it around the corners and glue it down. And this journal, I can say, is finally done. Now for the closures for these 2 gems. I'm thinking I'm going to do this style of closure. I'm going to make a tab, circles, brad I'm going to need, and the string wraps around them so that I can keep that flap down. And it's another interactive piece, so when the kids open it up, they have to unwind something, and it's just another fun thing for them to do when they're opening up their journal. I'm going to use my whale tail punch for my closure. You don't need this, of course. You could cut a circle and fold that in half. That would make a lovely tab. I also need 5/8 of an inch circle and a 1-inch circle. There's my whale tail. So I cut 5/8 inch and I cut 1-inch circles. I took decorative paper and I glued them onto a thicker cardboard so that I had some substance. Remember, this is going to be part of the closure and it's going to be opened and closed multiple times. There's my 5/8 inch punch and my 1-inch punch that I used to cut those circles out. I'm also going to use some brads to attach these. So I was thinking, here's the layout. I would put that there, those circles with the 5/8 inch, and then a 1-inch and a brad on top of the whale tail. And I found this jeweled one, and I knew that the girls would love something that looked like diamonds. There's my crocodile. That's what I punched the hole to get the brad in. I'm not doing a tutorial on the closures. I've made a bunch of closures in preparation for this, and there are many tutorials on YouTube. I will eventually make my own version, I'm guessing, but there are so many, and this video is getting to be really long, so we want to try to expedite it. So I'm gluing down the tab onto that front flap of the envelope, and then I need to punch a hole into the front envelope. Had I thought of this previously, I could have done that before I assembled, but I did not think this through at all. Nope, not at all. So I definitely want to use one of those brads, the yellowish green, because I think that picks up the colors of the paper that I made the envelopes out of quite beautifully. So I'm going to have to punch a hole way in there, and my crocodile's not going to do it, so I'm going to have to pull out the big guns, the big crocodile. I have my handheld that I use to punch the holes in the circles, and now I'm going to pull out the big crocodile. So I'm going to mark where I want it to go, and I have to pop the holes into my circles. And I'm using the 3/8 of an inch hole. I probably could have done it with a smaller punch, but I don't have a smaller hole punch. And there it is. And I'm going to do the same thing with the 1-inch, pop a hole in it, and you're going to see, listen guys, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine certainly is not going to be perfect. Watch, it's completely off center. Yeah, that's not even close to the center, but that's okay. I don't mind. I'll pop the brad in through both of those. I don't want to make it uber tight because you want to be able to wind the thread or ribbon or whatever I use to wrap around. That's going to be popped right into the hole when I make it. And here is my big crocodile. This is the big gun. So I just line it up with the hole, pop the hole, and now I can insert my closure, making sure that I do it on the outside and not on the inside. How many times have I done that mistake? And I'm going to realize at some point that I guess I should have made that a little bit closer. But here I am. I just took a pair of tweezers to spread the brad out, and I realize that something going in and out of that front pocket's going to get stuck. So I'm going to glue a circle over those brads. I tried to get as close to that brown of the hair as possible, but I'm not too concerned because it could be just a dot. It doesn't matter. And now I'm not going to have to worry about anything getting stuck or hung up as I slide in and out of that pocket. And there's one closure done. I'll do the second enclosure on the second journal the exact same way. And they're done. Hooray! I've already added the string and some dangles. Just one little charm hanging from each. I have a dragonfly on one and a butterfly with a little glitz on the other one. Now I'll speed it up and do a quick flip through. All right, journal 1, flip it open. I added an accordion flip out on that one and just a decorative paper clip to the first page. Pockets, those side panels that I loved using, those black papers that you draw on, and then a flip out, another pocket, pockets, The girls are going to love all the pockets and flip outs, and I'm going to enjoy stuffing them with tons of goodies for them to find. And now the second one. Open it up. It's got that pretty little butterfly on it. Open it up, we've got a pocket, and then we've got two side loading, and then we've got another pocket and a flip up. Plenty of journal space on this one. Flip it open, and you got pockets, a double flip, and then 3 more pockets. There we are. They're all done and ready to be given to my granddaughters. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. See you next time.